Well, hello there and welcome to the MFT channel. I am new to some of you, so I thought I'd start by introducing myself. My name is Sandy Allnock, and I am an artist and paper crafter here on YouTube and over on my blog, and I love to color. Color, 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 and MFT has such great images to color with. So you're welcome to go to my blog and check me out and see more of my work. Go over to my YouTube channel, which is also Sandy Allnock. But in the meantime, let's get started. I'm going to use my Copic markers today to color Chill Wishes. Chill Wishes has these great little penguins. I love penguins, and these are going to be really fun. I want to show you how I made a little bit of the stamping. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I wanted to show you some significant portions of it. I used the Misty to stamp first the two little penguins that don't have skis, but I wanted them all to have skis, and there's only one of the stamps that has skis, this little guy. And what I did was mask out the first two on the right-hand side and the left-hand side. And those are the ones that are going to be in the front. Whenever you do masking, you work from the front to the back. So then I put my next stamp down and I will lift it up carefully so it sticks to the top of the Misty, get my paper back in the corner good, and then ink it up using some MFT hybrid ink. I love this ink for coloring with Copics. So then I just flip it over and stamp it, and right in place, that little guy is going to appear. Next, I wanted to use the same skis for all these guys. So I put the plastic sheet from the stamp set into the Misty, shoved it in the bottom corner so I can keep it there and always have that lined up. But that's going to tell me where the skis are, so I don't have to move the stamp all over the place. And now I can move the paper and figure out exactly where the other little guys are going to be, and use just a post-it note to mask off those sections so I don't end up stamping that whole stamp all over the thing, just the skis themselves. So this way they're going to line up just with the little guy on the right-hand side. And that allows me to give all of my little penguins some skis because they all want to go skiing and shushing down the hillside. I did some masking then to create those mountains in the background. The stamp set also comes with great trees, and it has a whole bunch of sentiments with it as well. I'm using a Copic multi-liner to add some other details to it, one of which was the line for the hillside underneath of the mountains, and the other is to add two of the ski poles. I chose not to add ski poles in their other hands because it's so detailed inside there. I decided just to add one on the outside so they look like they won't fall over. But if you do these separately and a little further apart, you may want to add ski poles on both sides. But if you don't have a Copic multi-liner pen, you can always add that as your last step using any pen. But if you're going to color, you want to make sure that the pen that you use, if you're going to color over top of it, is Copic friendly, and that's what the Copic multi-liners are. Now I'm going to start with all of the Copic coloring. I sped this up just a little bit so that we could get this done in a reasonable period of time here. And I'm going to color in all of my penguins with a base color of a C6. That's a cool gray 6. Lots of people will start with a lighter color when they're coloring something black, but I like to start with something that's really dark because I want it to look black. I don't want it to look like a gray object. And these are penguins, so they're going to be black all over the place. For the glasses, I want to make sure they look like they're a little bit shiny. So I'm going to leave 2 white streaks in them so that they look like they have a little bit of a shine on them. And you can add more lines than that or less lines. They don't have to be the whole distance, but it'll just give it a little look of shininess. Then I'm going to take my C10 marker, the darker black color, and I'm just going to add shadows underneath of things. So wherever there's an object, often the shadow is just right underneath of whatever that is. So underneath the eyeballs, underneath the hats and the glasses, and then sometimes along the bottom of an object. I'm just kind of scribbling some color in. There's not room in small stamps to do much flicking. So if you've done any study of Copic markers and you like to flick, sometimes there's little areas you just can't do that. And if you don't know what flicking is and you want some more Copic education, I do have a web-based class over on my blog, and you're welcome to check that out. But I'm going to take my lighter marker now and just color this in and blend that dark color into the light. And it's going to give me these nice, rich, dark looking little penguins. So I'm going to finish that up with a nice simple 2-color blend and then go with some purple. You might have noticed I didn't use any of the dark black on the glasses because I had the plan to use a different color on the glasses just to make them look like they're made of something different than the flesh on my little penguins. And I'm going to choose a couple colors that I'm going to use throughout this entire image and repeat them. So I'm going to use some more of this purple throughout the image and a couple other colors that I'll just repeat over and over again in different ways. It's going to simplify the color palette and give a complex image like this a little more clarity because it just isn't going to be all over there and chaotic in terms of color. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between the different colors. So I wanted to have some purple in a scarf and in his headband, and then over on the skis on a different guy. I'm going to add some orange in the beaks, and I knew I wanted to have a little more orange somewhere, but I wasn't really sure where. So I'm just going to bounce back and forth between some other different colors. Yellow is one of my favorite colors, so if you go look at my YouTube channel, you'll see how many things have at least a little bit of yellow in them, and Y17 is my favorite of the colors. And now I'm going to go back to that YR16 again and add a little bit more in. Now that I know I'm going to have some yellow highlights somewhere in a few spots, I'm going to make sure I get their feet colored in. And then I thought adding some orange up here at the top because I wanted to use some cool colors for the mountains. So that orange pop at the top is going to be pretty awesome. I'll tie that in a little bit with some orange for his glasses and then add a little more yellow so that I again have those warm colors up at the top as I start working on those mountains. It's going to give me some good contrast between them. And then just drag a little more purple around the whole image. In the white areas, you don't really have to actually color anything in something white, but I like to put some shadows in. I'm using a C4, which for many people is too strong, too much contrast, so use something lighter if you want. So I'm going to throw in some really dark and then just go over top of it with the C00. That's going to lighten it and give me a soft blend toward the white. It takes a little practice to do, but it's something that I like to do. It gives a little more depth and roundness to the image. And all of this coloring of some detail, even though I'm only using 2-color blends in most of this, is giving a lot of focus to that central image. I'm not going to draw a lot of attention to the background other than giving it a flood of color, but I want the attention to be on these little guys. So I'm going to give some roundness to some parts of them. I'll use that same orangey color to do some shading in my yellow areas. So I'm just going to put some of that color down and then blend it with the yellow. I'm using just 2-color blends on most of this because I just want to keep it simple. And you don't have to have a million colors. Lots of people will tell you you have to have 3 colors for everything. There's sometimes I use 4 and sometimes I use 2. And it really depends on what you're doing and how you want to emphasize how the colors look and what that focus is going to be. And on a complex image, I tend to simplify my colors just a little bit more and not give them too much to look at and make the eye get distracted from what I want them to keep their eyeballs on. So I'm going to finish up coloring these guys. And the whole time I'm thinking ahead. I knew I wanted cool colors in the background and I wanted to bring some of that purple up there. So I could do Purple Mountain's Majesty and make sure there's plenty of purple there, but I also wanted to have some contrast. And I wanted to pull a little bit of that yellow up there as well. So in the sky, I thought I'll do a light wash going from that Y17 and then moving up into a lighter and lighter yellow toward the top and just let it blend out into white. So I have a little bit of color behind the mountains, just a tiny bit there. And then I'm going to use my same purple color that I had down below. You'll notice I didn't do any shading on the purple down below, and I don't miss it much down there at all. You can choose to do some blending with it, but I decided not to because it's a dark enough color that people are going to be looking at that little guy in the middle with the glasses on, and the little sparkles on his glasses, the little highlights are going to really draw attention to that. But on the mountains, I'm just putting a little bit of color at the top of each one of those sections underneath of where that mountain snow cap is, because I want the snow caps to really be white and really pop as snow. And then I started filling in with a B05. You'll notice that both the V15 and the B05 have a 5 at the end. That means they're about the same. They're very much middle tone colors. and I'm coloring over top of one color with the other. And you can go back and forth over this a bunch of times to soften out the blend between the two. But a blue and a purple are next to each other on the color wheel, so they'll blend. It'll just take a little more work to do to fuss around with it and get them to work a little bit better for you. But it gives just a different feel to the mountains in the background. So those recede since they're cool colors and they're very different than the colors in the front. And then of course it's snowy. So I wanted to give them just a little bit of color underneath of them. So I'm pulling in some blue down below, but just some much lighter shades of blue. So I keep it really simple. And my sentiment is really simple on the front of the card as well. When you do this much coloring, you don't have to do a lot of craziness with the card design. I popped that panel, I cut it down to 4 inches, and I used a black card base. So I have just a little bit of that black sticking out on the right-hand side with the popped panel, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's a really simple card. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this first installation. I'll see you next month with another coloring video. If you'd like to leave a medium in the doobly-doo down below, which is the comment section, and let me know what medium you'd like me to try next month, I would love to meet your request. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.